I'm doing a zine, and I'll show you how it works, but it's a small little booklet. I love to make them for my classes. Like when I do a jelly plate class, I tend to make a little booklet to show the process, but I also love to make them for my friends and family on things I'm interested in, like breath work or meditation, or just telling someone how special they are. So why don't you create along with me? Let's make zines. So these are some zines. This is the one I made for a jelly plate class I taught, and it is pretty fun. I really like it. Here's one that another artist made, and then this is the same guy, Austin Cleon. He's here on YouTube and has a pretty cool channel. This one's about gratitude and how they look when they're unfolded. They're 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and you just cut a slit in the middle to make it make sense. A book themed on depth. This is a drawing I did maybe for Inktober a few years ago, and it was much larger cover. So that's gonna be my cover. And then these two I've done for, I did a series called 50 woohoo creative practices. So 50 things that I found really helped my creative practice. One was walking gratitude, and one is one of my very favorite sayings and favorite prayers, favorite rescue devices, which is just taking 3 deep breaths. I think what I'm going to start with, because I like to fold it, and then I find inking the edges, when I reproduce it, I really like the look, kind of the scruffily look of having the edges inked. So I'm going to start there, and I'm using this piece of paper. I didn't bring any just plain basic paper. So I start by folding it in half, lengthwise, or my kids in class said this is hot dog. I'm going to fold it first, hot dog, which is my big horizontal line through my piece, and then they said that the other way, when you're folding it this direction, like in half again, the opposite direction is called a hamburger. So this is a hamburger fold. We're gonna get it to there. If you need to burnish something down, using the back end of a scissor really works just like a bone folder. But I'm just making those nice and sharp. And then I'm gonna take this top one and fold it back, this top flap, and fold it back to match this side. I'm going to do the same thing with the other half the other way. So I like it to kind of look like an M, a letter M when I'm done. Like an M or a W. But I'm going to ink it without cutting the little hole. And I might draw something that Austin does in his zines, is he puts a little scissor and a dotted line, and I might do that with this one, but instead of doing it on the computer, I'm just going to do it, I'm going to hand draw it. So draw a little scissor. Oh, I wonder if I can sneak a peek and find a pair of scissors. I have a pair of scissors right here, so I'm just gonna draw them. I'm gonna do really basic 2 circles, 2 blades, and then I'm gonna do a dotted line. And I'm gonna reproduce this in black ink, or black and white. So I'm kind of just working really lightly with a big pen. So there's my little scissors and my little dotted line. And where I really like to hit are those folded edges. I just find it gives a really nice border to each sheet. Okay, I finished inking the edges, and this is what it looks like now. I think part of the reason I like doing it is it just gives me kind of a really nice template. I'm gonna go in with that same tool and use some punchinella to just make some textury bits on either side of the fold line. So I'm just kind of giving myself some easy texture to work with. And I've got this bigger punchinella. Punchinella is what's left over when sequins is punched out. It also, I think, is called sequins waste. So this is a little bit smaller diameter piece of sequins, and then obviously the dots are then smaller. And I find I really like it kind of in the corners and across the spreads. Throw some up there too. There we go. And I think I'm just gonna stick with circles because I kind of want this to not have too much pattern, but maybe just enough. Okay. I think that's enough to start. I might go back in and add some more later, but for now, I'm real happy with that. So instead of cutting this, you could easily cut this. If you're not going to reproduce it many times, it's probably worthwhile to just cut it at this point. But because I want to reproduce this and leave this whole, I'm just going to open my previous zine and set it next to me so I can just work using that as a template. And I'm just gonna work on the piece. Ooh. This corner is gonna be my front cover, which is gonna have this piece on it. I think I'm gonna go back in and scruffle these edges with some ink as well. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do me one better, because I'm not gonna use that ink pad. Instead, I'm going to use a Montana big wide acrylic marker and just really make my edges super black so that it kind of stands out that it's a separate piece of paper. But once I reproduce it, it might not read that way, but we'll see. It's kind of interesting because with a zine you're working towards something that's reproducible. Oops. Well, I guess that was supposed to be a little scruffled. There we go. Yeah, I don't mind that. My mono tape, Tombow permanent adhesive. I try really hard to remember to not glue on to this, so I'm going to use my mat just in case I got this sticky tape not on the surface, or if I went over and accidentally got it on the surface. So that is my front cover. This would be my back cover where my contact information is going to be. These two will be my first spread. So I think I'm going to actually just fold it down so I'm only looking at 2 pages at a time so I can really focus in on what I want to say. So this is kind of like my guide to depth. I know I want to have a walk in gratitude 3 deep breaths. I think these 2 pages though might be good for a definition. So I'm probably just gonna write it in, and then maybe a quote on depth, or maybe a fill in the blank. So I am working on the first spread in the zine, and I thought I would go and get a quote about the word depth, but I didn't find that all that inspiring. So instead I'm gonna explain what a depth year is, where you don't take on anything new, but you really deepen into your hobbies and things like that. And then I have a quote by Yeats that I want to put in here. So I'm going to start there, and then the second spread is going to be a breath meditation. So I think actually I'll do this one with y'all, because this is just going to be a bunch of writing. So this one, 3 deep breaths, is a term I love to use. And then I love the wave breath is what I call it. I'm not sure anybody else does. So I'm just going to write wave, breath, practice. And I always like to try to kind of fill the space. A little border. I find I really like zines that have a lot of kind of separation in them because it's such a small page, but I like it when it kind of goes from one place to the next. So I'm gonna go up and then hold, and then breathe out and hold. So there's the wave. Let's make that a little prettier. Let's say breathe in for 3 seconds. Hold 3. Release. Did I spell that wrong? Probably. Yep, I did. fix that in post. No, I'm just kidding. I'll fix it with a white pen. Release for 8 seconds. And then hold for 3 seconds. And then you just go back to the beginning. So that's a breath meditation that I've used in my life. And maybe I'll make it a big, kind of like a more circular piece of paper so it becomes like really the word release maybe fills up that whole space. That would be cool. Release for 8 seconds. Yeah, let's do that. See? Your zits can become your happy little accidents. Hi, we're to the point where I made a copy of the original. So this is the original we worked on together. This is a copy. Zines are most used as copies, so you kind of want it to be reproducible. I'm going to do the same fold that we did earlier, where I go in half. You can do either in half. It doesn't kind of matter the order, but actually I really like doing it this way. So I'm going to do it a long way first and then do back-to-back folds. So do our vertical fold first, or the hot dog fold, and then we're going to do the hamburger fold. And I'm really trying to line up these 4 corners. Hamburger, and now I'm going to go and fold back each of the flaps so we get to the W or the M. So that flap goes that way, this flap goes this way. Now the next step is we're going to undo it all and then refold it to tear. So unfold the whole thing, refold that center hamburger line to go this way, and then I'm going to pinch with one hand, so I'll pinch with my bottom hand, and I'm going to tear back to these little scissors. So I'm going to tear back to here, and then I'm going to stop at this line. And I like to pinch down really hard with my pointer finger to get it started, and then I just kind of tilt this part back, and because there's a tear line there, it wants to stay on the line. And I go a little past this fold, but like the teeniest bit. Now we're folded. So we're folding back in half hamburger or hot dog in, and then I'm gonna find my cover, which is in this hand. I'm gonna line up all 3 of the other flaps and kind of hit the cover one more time. Sometimes your folds get a little off at this point, but I really want to make sure I can bend around this part. And just, you kind of zhuzh it to fold, and sometimes you have to press it again. But there is our final zine. So I'll flip through it for us. This is depth. This is a drawing I did a few years ago. Have you heard of a depth year? What do you want to dive deep into? And I made a little mind map for them. 3 deep breaths. How do you connect with your breath? They can answer there. This is a breath practice. Solitude ambulus. Solatur ambulus, or solvatur ambulus. It is solved by walking, and go for a walk in the forest. And then walk with gratitude, another piece of art. And then finally, the contact information. And I put in another quote, "The world is full of magic things, patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper." I hope you enjoyed this little project. And if you like what we're doing here, please like and subscribe and comment. All of it matters to the algorithm. You have to feed it. Thanks again. And happy creating, wild ones. See you next time.